The week's television in the way only he can. A brand new series of Harry Hill's TV Burp begins Thursday at 10:30. Before that, here on ITV1, it's Frank.
Have the last laugh with G2O and the Skinner Show.
So, welcome to the Frank Skinner Show, and let's hear it for the magnificent Skinnerettes, ladies and gentlemen. So, I think we know what the big story has been this week. It's been in the papers, it's been all over the place. It's that Mr. Paul Burrell. He's been saying loads of stuff. He said that she gave him letters that the Duke of Edinburgh had written. He's published the letters. The Duke of Edinburgh is not happy. And in fact, in an official statement this week, the Duke of Edinburgh said, "Oh, I hate you, Batman." Sherry Blair apparently had a very strange phone call in the early hours of Wednesday morning. It was someone from the civil service who said he's been hanging around with a small brown gentleman made out of plasticine. And she said, No, I asked you to keep an eye on Tony's heart. This kid, he stole 6 of his dad's Viagra. Did you read about this? And he went into school, and him and his mates took one each. School kids, right? And you can imagine the results, but it has its disadvantages, doesn't it, in the playground, that, because I bet the school bully was straight in with the Chinese burns. And apparently they all, just for a laugh, they stood in a straight line in the infant's cloakroom and walked away with 3 duffel coats. And it was the flight of the Concorde this week, the last ever Concorde. And who was on it? Bruce Forsyth. I was so pleased that Bruce was on it. Apparently the flight, they flew at 52,000 feet, part of the flight at 55,000 feet, and part of it at 50,000 feet. Mainly because Bruce was getting all the passengers to go, "Hiya! Hiya!" And when they had to go into the brace position, he went like that. And at baggage reclaim, he was a nightmare. He made them stay for ages trying to remember what baggage had got. The hold door, yes, the hold door, the hold door. Crocodile case. Now, on tonight's show, we've got boxing's mighty atom, Frank Maloney. And Mr. Stars in Their Eyes, Matthew Kelly. But first, you know the police have had a lot of bad press just lately. And if the bosses are going to sort it out, they've got to be tough.
You know, there is a 12-week residential course I could send you on that is specially designed to help you appreciate cultural sensitivities.
I'd prefer amputation.
Yeah, well, that's not what you need cutting off. Go on, piss off.
Ladies and gentlemen, Helen Mirren.
He just said I look like a car wash.
Now, when you wiggle, do the wiggle, look. I felt myself shutting all the windows. So I watched Prime Suspect. It's on the
Good
9th.
boy.
Is it the
Good
9th
boy.
and 10th of November it's on?
Don't ask me. I
Okay.
don't know, yes.
Well, just check the
Ollie,
TV
when's
time.
it on?
Thanks. No, do you always work at the prom? The 9th and 10th of November. I watched the first one. I have to say, I loved it. And I'll
Good.
be honest with you, I've never actually seen it before.
You know, I very rarely watch anything I've done, which is, you know, a bit of a betrayal of the director. The director likes you to watch it because they want you to see their work in terms of the editing and the music and everything. But I always think, you know, I know the story. I really don't need to watch it for any reason than...
But what about Vanity?
I'm not very like that. In fact, you know, even just watching that little bit backstage is quite alarming because you think, God, I'm so hideously ugly. And, you know, oh, I know.
Yeah. I wouldn't say you were hideous. You're all right.
Thanks, Frank.
In fact, I don't know if you're aware of this, and I'm not going to, but the Daily Mirror had a vote on all sorts of female categories, and you were #1 in a category which was called Knocking on a Bit, But You Still Might. But you were #1.
It was so humiliating. I mean, honestly, it's like, thank God I didn't see that one. That would have depressed me for a week at least, I think.
Have you ever done any adverts, Helen?
Yes, of course I have. I did Virgin Aeroplanes.
Right.
I was famous for it. Well, no, I wasn't famous for it. I was famous for the legs that weren't mine.
Right.
You know, there was a shot, it was my face saying, fly Virgin, it's great. You know, lots of room, lots of leg room. And then the shot of these gorgeous legs that everyone thought were mine. And they weren't mine at all, they were another girl's. Of course, mine are like footballers. I call them my gazzers.
I've got a clip of you, which it's kind of like an advert, this. And this would make me definitely buy washing up gloves.
Anybody who really wants me will have to buy me. Orator's orange rubber gloves. Smooth on the inside. They're absolutely leak-proof. Use them for all your dirty work. Yeah, give me that.
Fabulous. Oh. And I must say, they're very good. Well, they could be 6 inches long, to be honest.
It wasn't an ad. It was a student movie. I did that when I was at college.
Yeah?
That's unbelievable. That was like the first thing I'd ever done on film, ever.
Oh, well,
I can't believe you've got that. That's amazing. I've got to buy up all copies like like Schwarzenegger did with Pumping Iron.
Well, I toyed with the idea of introducing you as Dame Helen Mirren.
I'm glad you didn't, thank
No,
you.
well, I tried it in rehearsal, and it's not that easy to say, actually.
Dame Helen Mirren.
Well, it came out, at one
Topical
stage, it came out as Melon's Mirror, and I thought, she'll walk. She'll just walk if that happens. But are you a dame yet, or are you a dame?
I think I am, yes,
So you become a dame when you're named, but you haven't been done yet, have
I
you?
haven't been done yet, no, I haven't been done
Are
yet.
you aware
I
of
get
what...
done in December.
Right. So, do you know what happens when you get damed?
No, I don't. I mean...
Do you want to know?
No.
I'm going to tell you anyway. Do you know that you get 15 to 20 seconds each?
Oh, yes.
With
She must be so good at it, mustn't she?
With the Queen, or what?
Yes.
She's like lightning.
Yeah. Yes, get
And you And you have to have a quick chat. So, have you any ideas what you might chat to her about?
I have actually met the Queen. She was kind of funny. But it was, I mean, funny, you know, she was nice and funny.
Loads of gags and stuff.
Well, just, you know, not that sort of, you know, rather dour person that you're expecting. But it was, you know, she was surrounded by horses. So I think she's at her most comfortable when she's around horses.
Oh, she loves the horses.
She loves the horses.
Do you know
so
that
But she was lovely, just very sweet, very...
Do you know she has closed-circuit horse racing system at the palace.
No.
The same as bookies have, so that you can watch all the races.
No, you're
I
making
swear.
it up.
No, I swear
She'd
that's
probably be
true.
watching, you know, over our heads, won't she, while
Yeah,
you know,
when you get
doing the odds on the
when you're
horses
getting
while
damed.
she'll be a one-up.
Yeah, ask her for a biro. I bet it's that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Queen gets a quick briefing on each guest as well, so she'll know who you are and all that. We've sent all these clips in. I bet she's got a pair of these on.
She'll tell me about the rubber
On the
gun.
day. You want to try these on for old time's
I
sake?
want to take them home with me.
Okay. Don't get doing the tits thing.
They're not the actual ones. They're rather. I like tight rubber gloves myself.
Yeah.
But they'll
Yes.
come in useful. Thank you.
Thanks. I don't actually remember giving them to you. But
You did.
Keep them for
I'm
old
keeping
time's sake. Now, I read that when you were a young woman and you used to go dating, that you were very wary of men knowing that you were going to the toilet. So you used to...
Yes, I was always very physically insecure as a young woman. Yes, I hated anyone thinking about me. And now everybody watching this programme is going to be thinking about me going to the toilet. That's the most terrible thing. But I used to hate the thought. The thought of, you know...
Hold on, I'm just thinking.
Don't. Please don't. I now
You
will
don't- you don't wear
blush. I
those, do you?
really, really will blush.
Now, you'll probably get another award or two for Prime Suspect, I would have thought.
Gosh, do you think so?
You usually get a
That'd be
few.
great.
I wonder if maybe sometimes you don't get an award because when you do get an award, you kind of mess about with them a bit.
I do.
Yeah,
Do
look
I?
at this, look. Now that's just...
I forgot I won one when I was wearing that hat. Joan Rivers. I said Joan Rivers was so rude about that hat.
Yeah?
Oh, she said, I got a prize for the worst dress, you know. And I had one of those weird experiences where I'm watching the television and Joan Rivers is doing her show. And they're all saying who was the worst dress. And they all decided I was the worst dress. And she said, oh, this is the first. We've never had a unanimous opinion before on the worst dress. And then she turned to the camera, and there I am sitting at home watching TV, and she talked to me. She said, you must do better next time. You can't be going around looking like this horrible mess that you're looking like. I was like, oh my God, the television's talking to me.
Now, you're about to do a play at the National Theatre,
Yes, I am. Yep.
which is Morning Becomes Electra.
Yes, well done. Yes.
Thank you. Now, the thing I think that most people say about it, of course, is that it's 5 hours long.
Well, I think probably in its full, it's not going to be 5 hours when we do it. It'll probably be about 4.5. But it's long.
That's not so
That's
bad,
a
is it?
relief, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's fantastic. It's like Dallas or Dynasty, only really, really, really well written.
So have you learnt all your lines yet?
Thank you. Yes, I have. I would have hated you if I hadn't learnt my lines, but I have, more or less.
Do you want to give them a quick extract?
All right.
You have to give me a bit of help with this, because there's a
Some of
character...
the lines have been cut.
Yeah, that is so an excuse.
Well, they have. Some lines have been cut.
By you forgetting them. Well, this is a scene, it was Manon and Christine. You're Christine, aren't you?
Okay, yeah.
So shall I be Manon?
You be Manon.
Can you give me a bit of directing? What's he
Manon
like,
is
Manon?
my husband.
Is
He's just been in the Civil War, and he was a very reserved and rather a brutal man.
Right. So how old am I about?
Brutal's good.
I can do brutal.
You can do brutal.
Yeah.
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 And I'll do.
Yeah, you do. And I'm an American.
An American, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
from the East Coast, though, not from the West Coast.
Thank God you told me that. I could have made a right fool of myself. Okay. You shouldn't have done... OK, then, so this is it. So can we have a bit of theatrical lighting?
Not from New York, incidentally.
No, not from New... Oh, for God's sake, do you give me his postcode? Now I can't read the bloody script. Hold on a second.
We need our glasses now.
Here we go. You ready? I didn't mean to say those things. I guess there's bitterness inside me.
You've always been bitter.
You just cut one of my lines.
Sorry.
Don't you ever, madam. I didn't mean to say those things. I guess there's bitterness inside me.
You've always been bitter, Ezra.
Before we married?
I don't remember.
You don't want to remember you ever loved me.
I don't want to talk of the past. Did you hear Vinnie the first part of the night? She was walking up and down in front of the house as if she was a sentry guarding you. She didn't go to bed until 2 o'clock. I heard the clock strike.
There is one who loves me at least. I feel strange, Christine.
Is it your heart? You're not ill, are you?
Oh, it's just like at home with the Blairs. What about that? Brilliant. I could have done all 5 hours. Yeah. Well, thanks. So that's a little extract. So that's Morning Becomes Electra. That opens at the National. You've probably no idea when.
When does Morning Become Electra open?
27th of November. Thank God they came tonight. Well, Helen, it's been great talking to you.
You too.
And I hope the play goes great. Prime Suspect, do watch, because it is brilliant. Helen Mirren, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in a moment.
Today's lesson, giving our customers peace of mind. For £15 a month, we look after their whole central heating system. That means parts, labour and unlimited call-outs. To demonstrate the importance of having this fallback, Dave will fall back as if he's a boiler breaking down. But Dave didn't have British Gas central heating care. And now look, it was only £15 a month.
The film which you are about to see is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon
Is anybody home?
became a nightmare.
What's wrong with you people?
The events of that day were one of the most bizarre crimes of American history. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
There's a WH stunning low price on Too Fast, Too Furious on DVD. Just $14.99 at WH Smith.
There are other disposable razors, but now there's new Gillette Sensor 3. Totally new handle. 3 blades, mounted on responsive springs that adjust to your face. No disposable shaves better. You may think it's the best disposable you ever threw away. New Sensor 3, only from Gillette.
I can wait, he says. I'm very good at waiting. And he certainly is. That's naughty. Meanwhile, back in the hallway, well, here we are. Oh, is it just me? Or are things getting a little bit tense?
Yes! That's a real apple drenching! 6.4! Woof!
You know when you've been tangoed.
Meanwhile, in Plymouth, the CFO of a thriving olive import company has a brainwave. By eliminating 1 olive from every jar of olives they sell, he could save the company £200,000. An idea so well received that he's asked to save 500,000 more.
There you go, Mr. Carter. Hard to believe a phone could save us £1 million, huh?
Cisco Systems. This is the power of the network now.
TV is evolving.
Here comes Harry.
It's back and it's raunchy.
You know who I am?
It's brilliant.
I'm David Dickinson.
I love this show.
I am the hunter. I'm having some of that.
Brand new Harry Hill's TV Burp, Thursday, 10:30.
Welcome back. Now, you know, it's quite a switch from presenting stars in their eyes to being a West End actor.
What'd you take out that pocket?
Anything in my
No,
pocket.
there ain't. You got it in your hand now. What you got in your hand?
I ain't got nothing, honest, George.
Come on, give it here.
It's only a mouse.
A mouse. A live mouse?
No, just a dead mouse. I didn't kill it, honest. I found it dead.
Here.
Oh, leave me have it, George.
Give it here.
Ooh.
You want a dead mouse anyways.
I was petting it with my thumb as we walked along.
Well, you ain't petting no mice when you walk with me. Now, let's see if you can remember where we're going.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Kelly. Matthew, that was proper acting.
It was weird, wasn't it?
I was a bit worried about the handshake when you came on. There's a bit in the play where Matthew shakes someone's hand and squeezes it till it... And it's one of the most horrible sound effects thing I've ever heard in a play. Horrible crunching.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. I've done this play for on and off for 2 years now, and we've just come to the Savoy Theatre for 7 weeks, and that's all. And then we're going to knock it on the head.
Right.
I think, yeah.
I'll tell you what I loved about it. There's a dog in it, a real dog.
Oh,
I always love going to a play when there's a proper dog in it.
Yeah. She's called Josie, and she's 16 years old. She has cataracts, and she has to be old. She's not bothered about being there or not. But when we get a lot of schools audiences with of Mice and Men being a set piece.
It's on the GCSE.
It's on the GCSE thing, yeah. Which is a great thing to bring Steinbeck to schools audiences and bring that piece to life for people. But of course, if you remember what you were like when you were at school yourself and you went to these schools magazines, the whole point of it is to lark about with your mates, you know, and try and get a bit of a bevy in and eat as many toffees as you like. But of course now you have mobile phones. So people are texting each other all the way through it, you know. Hello, I am in row M, where are you? Have you got the toffees? Well, they do.
You can actually read them from the stage there. Fantastic.
Yeah. And Josie comes out, and it's one of the wittiest things I've ever seen, actually, because Josie comes trotting on with Candy, the character who owns the dog, and somebody in about the third row, some lad went... And honestly, I would have actually paid good money to see the dog shoot off into the stalls, but she's not bothered. She's not going anywhere, that dog.
So anyway, the play's doing very well at the Savoy Theatre, and you're doing very well in it. So 2003 has been an interesting year for you, one way and another.
It's been a funny year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's been a not funny year. I always get those mixed up. Yeah.
Well, it didn't start very well, did it? So, what happened, Matthew? When did you find out that someone had made this accusation against you, that you'd had sex with them when they were a young boy?
When I was arrested.
So you had no hint, no tip-off to the agent or anything like that?
There was an inkling that something was going on because a newspaper doorstepped me about 10 days before and said that I had been, as a statement, not as a question, saying that I'd been interviewed by the police from Operation Ore for downloading child porn. Right? And I said, really? I said, I'm interviewed by anybody, and I don't have a computer, and I've never had one, and I don't know how they work. And they kind of toddled off then, you know, oh, well, there you go. And then 10 days later, I was arrested for this thing that came kind of right out of the blue.
So you were in Panto at the time, is that right?
I was doing Peter Pan at Birmingham Rep, and I'd just finished the second show on the Wednesday night, on the Wednesday afternoon. We'd done a morning and afternoon. And within 2 hours, I guess, 2 to 3 hours, I was sitting in a cell in Guildford Police Station in Surrey going, how did this happen?
Were they waiting for you when you actually came off stage?
I understand they've been watching the matinee.
Wow, so they watched you as Captain Hook for a couple of hours and then arrested you. Did they let you get changed before they took you to the cell? That would have been terrible, wouldn't it, in there with a hook?
Yeah. Yeah.
So were you actually banged up then? It wasn't just a case of interviewing you in a room?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I was held overnight, and that was an experience.
I'll bet.
Yeah. And the next day, I was interviewed, and I answered all their questions, and then I was taken to my car, which they brought down from Birmingham, and I got into my own car and drove myself from Surrey to Birmingham, where the company had been kept in between shows, and I got the company together and I said, this is what's happened, and this is why it's happened, and this is just the whole, all and everything, and we're going to do the show in an hour's time, which is just when I'd arrived, and it will be a happening. And I said they could boo, they could throw things, but we're going to do it. And it was a happening. I've never experienced anything so electric in my life, and the audience were fantastic. Because what the public did was, okay, that's happened now. If there's anything in it, then we'll make a judgment later. What the press did was, we'll make a judgment now, and then we'll worry about what happens later. And the public were not having it.
So is it kind of behind you now, do you think?
Well, I hope so. I mean, who knows? But I think I'm okay. Yeah, thanks.
And there's going to be another Stars in the Rise?
Yeah, in January.
So all is well with the world.
Yeah. And City Hospital as
And will
well,
you grow the beard back and the hair for Stars in the Rise, or will you do it?
For that, no, I'll grow that back.
It wouldn't work, would it, on Stars in the Rise? You're going to frighten people.
Oh, well, that was the other thing, of course. You see, I'd had this terrible thing hanging over me and everything that's going on in the press, and I knew that I was going to have to shave my head and shave my beard off and look like a serial killer on top of everything else. And my friends were begging me not to do it, and I said, well, I've got a job, I've got to do it, you know. And other people in the press since have said very sweetly, oh, and I came out and made my statement at the very unfortunately named Staines police station, and they said, oh, he'd shaved his head because he had nothing to hide, and I would love that to be true, which is, well, I mean, it is true, but the fact was I was doing a play, you know.
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest things during that time, and probably after that time, was I suddenly realised that, of course, all the gags will have done the rounds. And, of course, on the day that I was cleared, you and David Deal did a show, and you did some pretty horrible gags.
Were they horrible?
Yeah.
I can remember what they were.
You can, yeah. And you think they were fair game, do you?
I thought, as you were part of the news, are you telling me you never did a Michael Jackson joke, for example?
No.
You've never done one?
No.
Never done a Gary Glitter joke?
Well, he is rhyming slang. What are you going to do? No, I mean, there are those gags that go on, and so they're kind of, when you're involved in them, you personally, they're pretty hard to take.
I can appreciate that, yeah.
You know, and do you think that's fair?
Yes.
You do think that's fair?
I don't think it would. I don't think I would do a gag like that if. I mean, it was a spontaneous show,
Yeah.
so I didn't sit and write it. But
That's
even
right.
so,
Would you do it now?
Would I do it now?
With me sitting here. Are you that proud of those gags?
What? What are you going to do? Hit me?
Would you like me to?
Well, not on stage. I mean, I'm happy to repeat the gags, if you like.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what they are?
No, I've no idea. I didn't watch it. I just knew that they were there in the
I'll tell you what the gags were.
Okay.
David Baddiel said, it's something which, in fact, you virtually said yourself tonight. He said, I think the strange thing is that since he's had his beard and his hair cut off, he actually looks like a paedophile.
That's a good gag.
But it's what you said yourself earlier.
But the point is, if it's funny, it might have worked.
Well, it got a laugh.
Didn't then, did it?
Well, I think it slightly puts a slightly different edge on when you're here.
It does, doesn't it?
You've got to say that that would alter the dynamic.
Yeah. Do you still think it's fair?
And the other, sorry?
Do you still think it's fair, what you did?
I think I am a comic. It was a topical comedy show, and you were part of the news.
I think what happens is that, of course, we make gags. And some of the gags I heard about myself were quite funny. I think people don't do things for the most part, for malicious reasons. I think what happens is that sometimes you have no shit detector. And I think that's what happened that night. I think if you'd, because it was a spontaneous show, if you'd really thought about what you'd done, I don't think you would have done it.
Well, I don't know. If I say yes to that, that gets me off the hook. But I don't know that that is true. Because, as you said, you have done Gary. I know you must have done jokes about Gary Glitter. You must have said things. Have you never said anything light-hearted about the fact what happened to Barrymore? Have you never done a joke when you're chatting to someone about that?
I've heard a lot of those.
And you've never done one?
Certainly wouldn't do one on TV.
But what's the... But
I suppose it's a time and a place.
Yeah, but you do a type of television which is a bit more family entertainment. Unplanned, the difference between what you say on TV and what you say off TV is not as marked as it is with Stars in the Rise. So we do talk more like people would talk at work or at the office. It's a more kind of a real show, if you like.
Yeah.
That was the week of the Michael Jackson documentary. So...
Was it really?
The week that that joke came out, because it was because someone said, I can't believe these parents that let their kids stay at Michael Jackson's house. Can you imagine your kids coming up and saying, we're going to Michael Jackson's? And I said, OK, you can stay at Michael Jackson's, but let Matthew Kelly know you're not coming. Again, a joke that loses a little bit because you're here.
Yeah.
But... although it got a slightly second wave.
Yeah. Not necessarily for the joke.
Well, they didn't... Look, you've been through a terrible thing, but I can't have Matthew Kelly coming in here and telling me about jokes. That can't be right. There was no malice, but if you take umbrage at it and you hate me, I understand it and I sympathise.
It is interesting also that particular story was such great news at the time, because in the end, you know, I'm a TV presenter and an actor. I don't the country. I don't, you know.
Yeah, but you're famous,
it is
Matthew.
amazing.
You were like the first 5 or 6, 7 pages of the paper.
I know.
To do a topical comedy show and not refer to it would have been bizarre.
Well, it's a good thing you did then.
Thanks. I knew I'd win you over in the end.
Congratulations.
So how do you feel about me now, Matthew? Honestly.
Well, you know, it's like I don't... When people do things like that, I mean, I don't feel anything really personally about it, you know.
Well, stop getting at me then.
Well, you were just getting on my nerves, that's all.
OK. Well, you can go in a minute.
I was interested to know how you felt about it and how you would defend it. Because when you're the person on the receiving end of gags like that, it's quite tough.
I'm sure it is. But they're jokes.
Yeah.
It's my job, Matthew.
All right.
Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be murdered on the way home. Anyway, I'll give you a chance to get your own back. Thank you very much, Matthew. Matthew Kelly. We'll be back after these commercials.